Welcome to Tales from the Gemini. El Paso's Feline Fox. The Walk. I love this song. Isn't this the greatest intro song? The Garage Band. Yeah. All right. Oh, I love that rumble. It's kind of Pearl Jam-ish, don't you think? A little Pearl Jam-ish? Like first Pearl Jam. Do you know anything about Pearl Jam? You can kill it, Malik. You can kill it. You know anything about Pearl Jam at all? Why? You know nothing about Pearl Jam. We got a new guy named, and I call him TB, but his real name is Thomas. But so you guys know nothing about Pearl Jam, the greatest rock and roll band ever.
Neither of us have heard of it.
You never heard of Pearl Jam?
No.
You guys have never. Oh my God. Oh my God! I'll give you a pass because you're black, and that's usually so. We always go, I don't know about the rock and roll. That's how we get it. But black people know about more rock and roll than we give credit for. Because we always do. We just don't want to be like, I don't know the damn rock and roll. We go, I love rock and roll. It's like me when I was a kid. I was the only one that came out and said I was a Kiss fan. Other black kids like rock and roll, but they didn't say it. They go, man, you a white boy. And all of a sudden, they leave me alone. They go, hey, man, I like Beth. And I go, man, really? So you let me get my ass kicked out because you didn't want to act like you was a sellout? Really? I'm the only one that had the guts to say, I like rock and roll, and you sellout ass white boy. Then he go, man, I like rock and roll.
He's here, BT.
Oh, what now? He's here? Matt is here? All right, let's do it. All right, yeah. That's a weird transition, isn't it? It's going to... Anyway, okay, here we go. I love it. Here we go. Matt! Can you hear me?
Hey, BT, how you doing, buddy?
Matt, how are you? Ladies and gentlemen, the performance coach, brand new papa, rugby star. This guy does it all. Plant-based diet. This guy, now I find out that he does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He does martial arts. This guy is like the English white me. That's what he's like. How are you, Matt?
I'm good, thanks. That's quite some introduction. Thanks for having me.
Honestly, Matt, and I was trying to do my homework last night on you, and honestly, I was trying to dig, and we stack up very well because you have one of the greatest positive minds, honestly, of anybody. Now, all joking aside, and I think that's why we connected when we first met. Because we first met through MotoGP rider Bradley Smith, who that's my heart. I love that guy. We met through him, and I knew when we first met because you had it looking around like, wow, who is this guy? He's a world-class athlete. I can tell by the way he takes care of his body. And ever since then, we have become great friends, and I've always admired what you did. Honestly, how you coach and everything. And the more I read about you, the more you intrigue me with everything, your philosophy on life and how you relate to others and the positivity. So it is an honor to have you on this show, man. And the greatest thing ever is you're a dad. And honestly, that warms my heart because when you had the kid, and it's gonna be the greatest thing ever in your life. I mean, now you'll never have an easy smile because you're always worried about the kid, as well you should be. But it's the greatest thing in life. So congratulations on the kid first. How is little Otis, by the way?
Otis is amazing. He's brilliant. He is the best thing ever. Certainly life has changed. And that's, I'm very honored to be here as well, man. Thank you very much.
You know, so first of all, we're going to get into the coaching aspect, the plant-based diet that we both do, actually. I do that also. And also, I know you do the cold water therapy like I do, so we'll get into all that. But let's take it back to the beginning. I know you have rugby was your sport, but when growing up, was it all sports and then rugby was just your passion, or what was it like growing up?
I guess my first sport was soccer. I played like football, we call it football here, but soccer from the age of 4, I think. So I had my like club team and was always played soccer, and then I only made the switch to play rugby when I was about 13. But was a bit put off at first, but I soon fell in love with it. And rugby probably holds my heart. That's where my biggest passion is. I'm getting to that age now where I'm past my peak.
Oh,
but I'm playing. I'm clinging on to that
Stop it.
last like year or two that I can still play socially.
I'm not trying to hear that shit, man. I've got years on you. I've got years on you, and I still want to do some stuff because honestly, it goes to the movie, and people make fun of Rocky, Rocky movies, but the movie Balboa, which was I think Rocky 6, when he goes, I got something in the basement, man. I got something still left in the basement. And when he said that, I go, exactly. And that's when I took up jiu-jitsu. Because honestly, being a man, you know how it is, you like that physicality. I mean, you've done, doing rugby is physical. And, and I played rugby once. And as men, we love that physicality. And you reach a certain age, we go, okay, this takes over. Or I got a relationship, you married, now you got a kid, this and that. But, you still want that physicality. And if you take care of yourself, like you said, with the plant-based diet that you're doing, if you saw it with Mike Tyson, now getting older, I call it more mature or a different level in life, you could still do things, man. I mean, you just got to play smarter, not harder. You play the game smarter. Maybe not as physical, but you can see the game different than, say, a young kid does. Agree?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I still play rugby because physically I can. I thought I wouldn't be able to. I had a nasty injury about a couple of years ago. I dislocated my foot and broke my leg, and thought that's I've had enough now. But somehow I managed to crawl my way back last year. And yeah, definitely, I feel like I've played at a good level, so I'm not playing at the same. When I say I'm past my peak, I'm never going to play it. So in the UK, we have tiers like Premiership, the highest level. Like I've never been that good. It's like full-time professional. But I played like level 3, which is 2 down from that, and that was kind of like where I peaked, and then transitioned more towards coaching. So I'm never going to hit that level again. I'm not as fast or as quick and agile as I used to be.
Stop it! I'm still not hearing it. I'm not hearing what you have to say. Then you're being very kind. I've seen your videos on Instagram. Follow him on Instagram at Coach Matt Dickens, and you'll see he's fibbing because this guy still has it, and I don't know why you're trying to be all humble. You still have it, so I don't want to hear that shit.
Okay, well. Yeah, maybe. But every injury you have, like rugby's a brutal game, right? So you're always playing somewhat injured, and then you dislocate this, you break that, and you're always going to, every time you recover, you try and come back fitter and stronger than previously. But I think when you get older, like speed is the one thing that kind of tails off a little bit. And that was like probably my biggest asset. But it's funny that you mentioned like the physicality, because like the other big love of mine would be like MMA and fighting. And because of the whole COVID situation and the pandemic, and like rugby's pretty much cancelled this year in the UK. So I've gone back to fighting, which is awesome. Like mostly pad work, because the contact. Like in the lockdown, you can't do anything. Out of the lockdown, then maybe you can do some grappling and stuff. But I've mostly been focusing on like stand up and striking, like this week, or not this week, like the last couple months. And absolutely like loving that again. It's good to have that physicality in something. You need to get that aggression out.
But that's what men do, and honestly, that's the natural testosterone. I mean, we all want to go to pills and powders or whatever, and go to the doctor and get a medically a shot of testosterone. But if you train the right way, you can produce testosterone naturally.
Yeah, if you eat the right way, if you train the right way, I 100% agree.
Now let's go back. I'm skipping here, but I want to go back. And I know what you said. You started playing soccer at 4, and then rugby took over. And what was the passion about rugby that you enjoyed? What was about you go, okay, this is what I like right here? Was it because you were better at it than soccer, or was it because you excelled at it more than soccer?
I think early on, no, I don't think I excelled at it early on. Like when I was first like learning the game, there was certainly had some encouraging moments, and you get the ball in your hands and you run with it. And I think it was more when I turned around 16, 17, I started to get good, and my team became good. It was more of like the cultural thing, right? That's how when we were young, that was like the time of my life sort of thing, Right. So I had like my best buds. We were like the best team, like around in the south of England. We had to travel to Scotland and beat like national champs up there and in Ireland. And we had a really good team, but a really strong group of friends and culture and social as well. And and also like no worries at that time in your life.
Isn't that the greatest? That's the greatest time. You don't have any money, but you don't even care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And because I was getting good and like always pushing the limit, and that without knowing it, now obviously I know a lot more about flow states and that like full immersion and losing yourself. And I guess without knowing it, like, and not even thinking about it at the time, that's where I got my flow state. That's where I got my buzz, by beating the guy in front of me or seeing the space, making a break, making like the try, scoring, even if it's a pass or scoring a try, and like winning like week on week. Everyone loves winning, right? So you're always on this, because we were good, we were always on this high. Before we got to 16, we weren't that good. And then all of a sudden we got this Irish coach, Billy, his name was. He came over from Ireland and saw the potential in our team. And yeah, there was just a buzz all the time. So for 3 years, it was just this solid buzz, solidly on a high, always winning. And I think that's where that real big love and passion really manifested itself, I guess.
Okay, so you're in rugby now. You've been performance coaching for 10 years. When did you realize, hey, maybe I want to coach, and maybe I want to coach people to achieve their greatness? Because the thing I love about you is if you go on his website, which is Atlas Health and Performance .co.uk. If you go to his, you'll see that it's so well thought. I love it because you want people to achieve greatness. And when did you come about that? Was it during while you were playing the game, or when you got out of the game and started coaching? And when did that transition happen?
You know what they say, right? If you can't do, teach.
I like that. I love that. Yes. So
no, pretty much. So when I was around like that age, I was never going to go, like I said, I was never that good. So eventually when I was like 22, I went traveling like around the world, and ended up playing rugby in South America, in Argentina. Mm-hmm. Again at like the highest level over there, which was awesome. But I got injured again. I had a few injuries, like knees and shoulders, which kept me out for a couple of years around my like 19, 20, 21, which is when you really kind of want to play your best. And then, so I went to Argentina as like a last effort, and then dislocated my shoulder again. But it opened my eyes to this whole world of like professional rugby and like strength and conditioning as a profession,
right?
And like physical preparation. So still being in that environment, still being in that rugby environment, but working in the gym. I love training as well. Yeah. It wasn't just the game. It was the getting strong in the gym, getting powerful, getting fast on the track, jumping high, all those sort of things, like the physical training. And I was like, oh wow, you can actually do this as a job. I'd done a degree in like mathematics with economics at this point, and then I'd gone traveling, and then I found this, and I was like, oh, this is what I should be doing, because the whole like do what you love, right, and do it well and get paid for it sort of thing. So I came back to the UK. I did a couple internships with Premiership clubs over here, started learning off of some real good coaches, and did a master's in strength and conditioning over here. So I went and got my like master's degree, and then just started climbing the ladder from the top. Basically, I was working for free where I could. I did like I had set up a personal training business, because I figured the more people I can coach from whatever background, if I can get your gran who's 80 years old and can't bend her knees to squat pretty well, then I can sure as hell get an 18-year-old super talented athlete to squat pretty well. So, and the more people you work with, the more different learning styles you work with, the different kind of language you can use. So it just enabled me to build up my skill set as a coach, which is really good. And again, was like learning from like professional coaches and in full-time rugby and stuff. And it kind of just spiraled from there. And I was set on working in rugby. And then as soon as I got my first paid role so I worked a couple of years for free, and then got my first paid role in a professional rugby club. I left it within a few months to work for British Diving.
Really? And is that where you met Chris Mears, right?
Yeah, Chris Mears. Chris won a gold in Rio in 2016.
And you trained him?
Yeah, we trained him probably, I think 2014, 2013 it was 2013. It was post London 2012 for 2 years. And yeah, that was based down in Southampton over here. That was great.
How fulfilling was that? I mean, when you he achieved his goals because of what you did or helped him achieve. It comes down to the athlete eventually, but that preparation, you were part of that preparation. Even though it's an individual sport, there is a team aspect involved. So how fulfilling was it? And is that what made you go, okay, I'm here for a while because I love watching this. I love watching somebody achieve their goals.
Yeah. Or in spite of what I did.
Yeah. Yo, there's nothing wrong with that.
I think that's a question you always have to ask yourself. Physical preparation is important, but because it's like my role, I never want to get blind or short-sighted in the fact that it's a big piece of the puzzle. It's still a small piece of the puzzle. Like the sport comes first, the skill acquisition and the skill development is like the biggest piece. It's the be-all and end-all. If they're not super talented athletes at what they do, then like, in motorsport, if they can't drive the car, if they can't ride the bike, then it doesn't matter how fit and strong they are.
Okay, right? Okay, here's a go. Okay, now, please correct me if I'm wrong here. I know you do the physical part, but do you climb into their mental? Do you help them mentally, or do you just stick back and go, okay, do these stretches here, do this exercise here, and let's check your whatever, your vitals, and then go ahead? Or do you actually talk to them like, okay, here's what you got to do to reach your potential on the track or whatever, or on the pitch? Do you climb into the mental also, or is it just strictly physical?
Yeah, it depends, bits and pieces. Some athletes are open to it a lot more than others. My background was very much in physical preparation, so that's where the first 7 years of my career really was. When I switched to motorsport, you take up this role as performance coach, and you're like the go-to guy for all the performance variables. So I've got some amazing contacts with like specialists in nutrition, specialists in psychology, and even better than me with fitness and sleep, for example. And then if you're the go-to guy for that driver or for that rider, then if a question comes up that you don't know, then you can lean back onto the specialist. But at the end of the day, you should be the guy who has the broad knowledge and take a massive interest in all of those areas. So yes, and I'm a big believer in like NLP and just creating a positive envinement.
And right? you do that. I can honestly say, because I've seen you, and you do that. I mean, I've seen you bring in Bradley's leathers. I've been there, so I'm just talking out of my ass. I've been there and seen that. I remember when we were in Valencia, and it was like, Bradley invited me in, and we're talking. Then you came in, and it's like, hey, I got to get down to business. And you bought the little bands in. He's about to do his, and I thought that was so great. It was time for him to get down to business. And I left. I knew when to leave. And I love that aspect of it. And you think they respect you more because you were an athlete yourself at a top level? You think that plays a little bit into that they respect you because you kind of know what you're doing? In that aspect. I mean, because I think it's different if you're coming in, let's say you're just a muscle head. Like, you ever do any sports? Like, you talk to guys with, a big muscle. No, I never do any sports. All I'll do is lift weights. And you go, well, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about then. Well, I know that, you just got to go for it. And you go, man, get up. Yeah. But you've been there. You've been on the pitch. You've been injured. You know what it's like to play injured. You had to suck it up and, tuck them and go. So they're going to look at you like, okay, not only is he training me, and he's saying something in my ear, I'm going to respect him because he's been there before. He's gone through it. He's been through the jungle. So do you think that plays a part in it and the respect they have for you?
Possibly. I think you've got to find common ground with whoever you're working with, right? Whether that be like joint interests in like comedy or like
no,
learning.
Comedy's totally different. I mean, it's just me. It's nobody else but me. It's all me. Yeah. All me, all the time.
That's where the common interest is, between me and Bradley. We just both love you. So it's
you kiss ass, okay? But Okay, let me ask you this. How did you make the transition to motorsport? Because you come from a rugby background, so how did all of a sudden somebody go, hey, I think you'd be good doing motorsport? And what made you go, you know what, I think I'd try that, even though it's out of your comfort zone?
Well, life's all about who you know, right? So so after working with Chris Mears in diving, I actually moved to Andorra to lead the strength and conditioning and physical prep for their national ski team. And the one thing about Andorra, right, is most MotoGP riders live in Andorra.
Yes.
So after a few years, I was there for 3 years leading their physical prep, and so proud and so happy with what we achieved in that time. It was brilliant. It was a really fantastic time. My life, beautiful country, great place to live. Very isolated, and they're very much in their own bubble. So there were some very headstrong people and a couple clash of personalities, but that's part of like working in pro sport, and totally get that. And then
who clashed? I want to hear who clashed.
Like technical coaches, like one in particular technical coach, who was a very stressful guy and put a lot of stress on other people. And I'm all about bringing a positive environment, but it started to get to me to the point where I could move on.
Right.
And after I'd been there for a couple of years, I knew Bradley lived there. We had a mutual connection. We'd met each other a couple of times in the gym, and I started doing just writing his strength program. So stuff in the gym, like he had a trainer before, but he didn't find the stuff in the gym he was doing was like that worthwhile. So we worked together for a year, just me writing his program, and he loved it. He felt a real benefit of it. He invited me down to Barcelona GP. I can't remember what year it was now. It must have been about 5 years ago now. And like it was amazing. Took the missus down there, like fantastic environment. We were in the paddock. Unfortunately, he crashed out that day. And so, kind of chatting in the back of his truck. He was riding for Monster Tech 3 at the time. And just like starting to have conversations. And again, from that like whole performance perspective, and like not observing certain things. And it was like, oh, do you do this? Could you do this? Could you do this better? And starting to have that chat. And the following year, he was switching to KTM. And that would be his like big, like, obviously, unfortunately, it didn't work out as well as might have hoped. But that was like, he wanted to take his performance to the next level, have a guy like work with him full time, and yeah, so it kind of naturally evolved. Well, yeah, that I'd love to do that. I mean, I could move back to the UK to live, travel with MotoGP and you to work. We can still do like the remote like training side of things, and then I'm there on site for all the performance stuff. I did some qualifications in sports massage because I think that's a really beneficial tool for recovery. And then really I'd already had a huge knowledge on like nutrition, but took a even deeper knowledge just in all the other areas around like holistic performance. And I think that's where my natural kind of role and personality was like progressing towards anyway.
Yeah.
And it was it worked out really well.
Well, tell me this. Why is it, of all the athletes, fucking MotoGP guys, motocross guys, and race car drivers, they never post their workouts. Everybody else, soccer players, football players over here, American football, they post their workouts on Muscle and Fitness, whatever, and you can do them. But MotoGP guys like, shh, I'm not telling nobody. And they never. I specifically asked this one guy at it was a bike event or whatever, and I go, hey, what's your workout? What do you do? And he danced around the question, and nobody ever tells what they do as a workout, and it's so frustrating. That's the only thing I hate about those guys. So what is it they do? Tell me so I can do it, because you see what I do. You've been around me, so what I do, honestly, from loving MotoGP, what I do now is, is your baby up? Everything good?
No, I think my neighbor is drilling something in the wall. So
are you gonna go and beat him up and show your MMA skills?
No, we get on really well with the neighbors.
Okay, I was just asking. If you want me to, I'll fly over and have a little talk. If you want me to, I mean, I could be the bad guy if you want me to. But the thing about it is, I mean, from being around MotoGP, I said to myself, that's how I want to be. I have the physique of a MotoGP racer. So that's why I took up cycling, and that's why it's more my workouts now are more aerobic. I don't lift heavy weights anymore. So what are their workouts, and why are they so secretive about what they do?
Okay, so the first thing is, I think, like I've reached into like quite a few of the riders and I know them, not really well, but I kind of have a feel of like what they do, and everyone seems to do very different things. I'm a big believer in the best program is the one that works for you, right? It's what you enjoy the most. It's what you put the most effort into, and it's the one you can do the most consistently. So you take two riders, for example, Alessio Spargaro, all he does is cycling.
All he does. That's all he does.
All he does is cycling. And Cal Crutchlow as well, all he does is cycling. All they're doing is on the bike. They probably could do like a bit of core work, a bit of strength work, a bit of different things. But all they do is cycling. He's got they've got a great base of aerobic fitness, which the aerobic fitness will massively help them like recover like day to day between sessions and obviously perform at a high level on the bike. One other thing you've got to understand is off of a MotoGP bike, you can't replicate being on a MotoGP bike.
Yes.
So
yes.
Any training you do is just going to be general. It's only going to have so much carryover. You could be strong as an ox, but it's only going to carry over to the bike a little bit. You could be fit as Lance Armstrong, but it's only going to carry over to being on the bike a little bit, right? And then, but for example, Fabio doesn't cycle, he runs. So there's not necessarily any difference between what you do, it's what you enjoy. Like Fabio runs loads, right? And he's got a really good level of aerobic fitness, and that carries over to being on the bike. But at the end of the day, they're super talented at being on a MotoGP bike.
I never thought of it that way, and it's so simple, but it's the truth. It's whatever works for you, and it's the truth. I mean, I think I'm a little too bulky to be like a bike racer. I mean, but I enjoy cycling now. Like, I'm not as big as I used to be. I used to be 238. I mean, I used to look like you, but only better. I mean, I was more cut. I was just huge. So I understand that now. Whatever works for you, and like it doesn't replicate being on a MotoGP bike because nothing does. But can you get your aerobics up? I mean, your like anaerobic like cardio basically up for can you prepare that better for being on a MotoGP bike? Because people don't realize that's 45 minutes of you at the highest concentration level with your heart rate, about 180, 177, 180 beats per minute for 45 minutes?
Unless you're Maverick, who flatlines at 120 and nobody understands that.
How does he do that? Honestly.
I think there's either something wrong with that heart rate monitor or he's a
true alien. He's a true alien.
His heart is just the size of like a watermelon because it's just like pom, pom, and he gets all the blood he needs. But like you get freaks like that. But for most of the guys, yeah, it's like 180 plus for 40 minutes. You're in the red and like you're hanging off that bike, and you're also performing on the absolute limit.
Yes.
So like mentally, like it's such a high skill level. And don't forget the bike weighs like 160 kilos. It's a heavy piece of machinery to chuck around and then take up to 300 kilometers an hour and brake under huge G forces, 4 or 5 G.
So how can you replicate that being a trainer? No offense, that you've never raced before. So how can you go, okay, we're gonna do a program? I mean, do you work on balance moves? Do you work on like strength for your shoulders because you got to handle the bike? I mean, how do you go about that you've never raced before, but implementing a program that is going to work and be beneficial to your racer?
Okay, so there's two things to address. I think the aerobic side of things is massively important, mostly because the nature of racing is 2 sessions, 3 days consecutive. So you've got to have a huge aerobic base just to be able to recover between those sessions, right? And then the race itself is on the 3rd day. So you really, like, after 2 days of like heavy riding and pushing it in the qualifying, then you've got to perform at your peak on the 3rd day. So you've got to have a high level of aerobic. And like I said, I think what's going to carry over most is probably what you enjoy and what you put the effort into. And like little things around helping your recovery, whether that be massage, whether that be like taking a bath or like just nailing your food. Like that's the most important thing, nailing your sleep. That's another important thing. And there's a couple maybe supplements that you might help as well, just reduce that muscle soreness. So on the Sunday, if you think about just the race performance, personally, I think you can design like circuits with various like upper lower body like full body movements that perhaps could be beneficial to the rider as an individual.
Okay.
Because one thing that's often neglected for people who just spend all their time on a bicycle and all their time on a motorbike, then they're in a very fixed position. Like it's a horrible posture.
Right.
Like you see people like, without wanting to name names, there's a couple riders who have like that really hunched, like not like hunched back posture. They have really rounded shoulders, and for the longevity of that athlete, probably like they're going to be suffering from a lot of back pain, a lot of like physical pain, like week on week, and chronic issues that is going to affect their performance later on in their career. So I'm a big believer in there's a lot of supplementary work that you can do, like mobility and strength training through like good ranges that aren't specific to riding a motorbike, but they're specific to the athlete and the longevity of your career. Like,
okay.
Bradley used to suffer from lower back pain, like chronically, like week on week on week, and that was something that we addressed. Is like, okay, you can sit on a motorbike and you're like world class, but when you do a squat, you look like you're on a motorbike, and you know like your core strength is probably really good on a motorbike, but day to day in general, it's not amazing. It's not as great as it could be. So, or there's certainly imbalances when you drop racing around in circles the same direction, like week on week, you're gonna get like imbalances.
Right.
So like, let's address those. Let's address your mobility. Let's address your movement quality. Let's get you strong as fuck so that you can, tolerate the loads of being on the bike so much easier. You know, if you're the load that you're under on the bike is like your maximum, then that's a big strain week on week.
Right.
But if you can lift 200 kilos and being on the bike is only 100 kilos, so you're only like pushing like 50% of your max, then actually like riding the bike can become comparatively easy. So personally, I think that there's ways of incorporating the movements that you need to do, like maybe corrective exercises, like stability around your hip or core, into like circuits that can be like kind of aerobic-y, anaerobic-y, and quite beneficial. And then also you can do like body weight circuits using like non-specific methods like a ski erg and battling ropes and very like upper body orientated, and a rowing machine, for example. But if you're working like consistently building up that base towards 40 minutes, that's going to transfer to being on a bike, because it's putting your heart rate at a high level, and that blood is being sent to your upper body rather than necessarily to your lower body, like cycling and running, where, okay, you need to be fairly strong to stand on the foot pegs on a bike, but it's mostly upper body and core orientated.
Do you,
that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Do you love that? Do you love that aspect of the challenge of that? I mean, do you like tackling that? I mean, especially when it first happened, did you really, really enjoy? I mean, like, okay, I'm out of my comfort zone. I really got to focus, because, once you get, somebody said this before and it makes sense. If you go out of your comfort zone, it's great because you have to be more focused. Like, okay, I'm getting in an area I'm not really comfortable in, so I really, really, really have to focus on what I'm extra focused. So when you went to bikes and motorsports and helping Bradley, whatever, did it make you go, okay, I really, really have to hone in, because I want this guy to be the best and to trust me that I'm going to be able to prepare his body for this mentally and physically.
Yeah, I love that challenge of learning, and I love like problem solving and solving puzzles. So like I said, everyone's different, right? So you got to find, and you've also got to work with what people believe.
Right.
Because we're working with an athlete, the longer they've been in the game, they've already got all these preconceived ideas and beliefs that come as a culture of the sport.
Right.
And beliefs come from like the people that they've worked with and learned from before. And there's never any point like trying to fight things, because if you tell, if just because you believe something different, like it doesn't make either one of you right. Okay, and you're going to get mixed from resistance. If you challenge someone, it's our human instinct to defend ourselves. So effectively, you've got to work with what people believe and what people enjoy, and find the path. And there's no perfect way or right way. You got to do the best you can with what you got.
Well, I know you like to like call out bad PTs on your Insta stories. So what happened like in Qatar when you did that? And
Shame on that man.
just tell me what happened. I just want to know. Like, I know you call out bad PTs on Insta stories. So what happened in Qatar when that happened? I'm dying to hear.
Yeah. Well, I have very strong principles, and there's only so much, and I don't like bullshit. Right? I just don't like bullshit, and that when you try and do something at a high standard, you have a high standard, you end up having high expectations of other people.
Of course.
And obviously, you start as a personal trainer, but I've done my accreditation with the UK Strength and Conditioning Association. I've got a master's degree. Working, I believe movement is the most important thing, and when you're working with people's bodies and their health.
Yes.
Good movement leads to strong, efficient individuals. They can move safely and effectively. And when people move like crap, which most people move like crap, at some point at the end of the day, they're going to end up in pain. Whether that's they lift something up poorly and they get an acute injury, or it just compounds day on day, week on week, moving like crap. And eventually they get like these chronic issues like tendon problems or herniated discs or, stress fracture, whatever it may be, like joint pain, muscle pain. And I think that, in my personal opinion, it's a very strong view, personal trainers' number one responsibility towards the health of the person who is paying for your services should be to help them move well.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly, because what I see is pathetic in my gym.
Yeah, but most personal trainers don't give a shit or don't even know about that. All they think is, I've got to put this person through some hard exercise, and if they're sweating and in pain, then they're going to pay me money, because they sadistically think that that's what they should be paying for, and that's what's going to make them come back. And there's this emphasis on you've got to burn as many calories as possible in the next hour, and even though you're fat and overweight and you can't even squat, I'm going to make you do burpees and jump, and eventually it's going to lead to some instability at your knee or your ankle. But that's out of I can't even see that. I don't care about that. You just got to burn some calories right now, and you've got to be sweating and out of breath. And that's a really general, blasé, stereotype, judgmental, critical, horrible thing of me to say. But I genuinely believe that whilst there are some amazing personal trainers out there, some amazing coaches, and I won't take anything away from them, most PTs do more harm than good.
So what happened like on the first day of the job in Qatar with the rent-a-car? I heard that you like sideswiped a concrete barrier.
Oh, you've really been digging, haven't you?
It's your first day on the job, and then you get a rental car and you sideswipe the concrete. So what happened there? I mean, can you drive? What happened?
Have you ever been to Qatar?
I've been to Qatar. I love Qatar. Matter of fact, I was supposed to go again, and as I'm getting on the plane, they stop me and they go, "Your passport's no good." Even though it didn't expire until 5 months later, no one told me there's a law or there's something that airlines can say if it expires under 5 months, they can stop you from flying. And you don't understand, Matt. I literally was about to get on the plane. They go, "You can't go because your passport's going to expire in 5 months." And they said no. And I had my bag with me, and they stopped me from going. And because Bradley, he goes, "Hey, I thought you were supposed to be here." And I go, "Long story. I was so pissy." Yes, that actually happened. So yeah, I've been to Qatar. So you're not getting out of this. So like, what happened with the rental car and hitting a concrete barrier? What happened?
Oh, that sucks, man. Okay, so the roads are different in Qatar.
Of course.
Really, really funnily, I've been to Qatar about 6 or 7 times now.
Okay.
Every time you go, the roads change. So every time you go from the center of the town, like on the Pearl or wherever you're staying, so from the hotel to the track, the road we've taken a different way to the track every single time, because they change the road layouts all the time. Anyway, can't use that as an excuse on the first time I was there. But basically there was like a turn off to the main road. And in the UK and Europe and any other roads that I've ever driven on, when you're joining like an intersection, your road like has like a runoff.
Right.
It goes into the main road, right?
Right.
And then eventually it cuts off, so you have time to turn into like the main lane. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I expected it to be, but that wasn't the case. I've come around the corner, and then there's this massive like coach or truck that's come like swinging past, and I'm like, holy shit, I thought that was my lane. And so I've like pulled to the right, bumped up onto like a bollard, bumped back down again, missed the coach, joined the lane, safely taken off, no damage to the car. I was like, Bradley's there like, what just happened, Matt? Alan, his dad's in the back, like, Bradley, have you just employed this guy for the season, or what's going on? Don't mind that, boys. That was, just in for the ride,
That's your first day on the job. Your first day on the job, you get the client in almost a fender bender with his daddy. Hey, there's no place to go but up from there. No place to go but up from there.
Makes a good story, right?
Man, that's awesome, dude. That is great, man.
I'll get you as fit as anything, but I can't promise to get you to the track safely.
If we ever get together, I'll do the driving. If we ever get together. Now, here's what I wanted to ask you this, and this was a delicate subject, and I wanted to, because you've seen me, I geek out so much at GP. I'm always like, but I also know that I also know I can be a little bit much for people. If they don't know me, I can be a little bit much. So I know when to stay away from people. So, and the hardest thing was, I think, was last year we were in Valencia, and Bradley had a chance for the championship. They do the doubleheader with MotoE, and I just remember, man, being an athlete, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I didn't see him before the races, and I purposely did it that way because I didn't, I know what he was going through. I mean, I had to, feeling like, he has a chance to win the championship, so I didn't want to be in there and have my frantic energy around. So I went and watched the race from like a suite or a booth or whatever, and I watched it, and I watched both races, and I just felt this emptiness, and I felt so bad because you can't say anything. And I want to, but, I've been there before where, I used to wrestle. So when I lost in wrestling, I had a chance to become state champion. I had a chance to be a regional champion. And I lost to the same guy 2 weeks in a row. And no one could say anything to you in that situation. You just want to say, hey, man, could you just leave me the fuck alone? Even though they want to be nice and put their hand on your shoulder and say, hey, you just don't want to hear it. So I didn't know what to do. And I remember he came out for the trophy ceremony. And I said, hey, I think I was with you, we said, hey, Brad. But what is it like for being the coach, being his performance coach, and and like I said, it just didn't work out, and it just didn't, and I felt so empty. But how is it like for you to be in that situation where it's your client, and I think it's a friendship there. It's more than just a client. I think that's your friend, and like I said, it just didn't work. So what do you do in that situation? Do you say anything? Do you not say anything? Or do you what was it like for you in that situation?
Well, look, he still came second, so it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. It wasn't like,
oh yeah,
and it was a complete disaster. He still came second in the championship. I think the heartbreaking thing about it wasn't that weekend because he was so close to winning the championship. It was more just on the reflection of what had happened earlier in the season, where there was a couple of things that were completely out of his control.
Yeah,
where one, he had to race and start a race with his battery not fully charged, and by the last 2 laps he just died and he lost a few places, and that, but I can't remember the ins and outs of why that happens. You have to speak to Bradley because his memory's a lot better than mine. But that's certainly affected like the total points at the end of the season. And there's another race where he got just taken out.
Yeah. That's MotoE though. MotoE is like the electric version of Moto3. It really is. Those guys go in there like hell or high water. You're like, hey man, it's got about 7 or 8 laps. It's gonna be okay. But they go all for one in that one turn and take out people, and they don't even say sorry. And it's like that's kind of bullshit. But it's also that's racing. I mean, it happens unfortunately.
The guys in that championship have really got something to prove. Like they're like they all want to be in like the main championship. So they're like, yeah, I'm just going to risk everything, put it all on the line. And if I take you out with me, I don't care.
Oh, well. Yeah, they're like, oh, well. I mean, because in a way, and that's difficult to say because it's like, I don't want to shit on Moto E and I definitely not shitting on the riders. I mean, those guys are great. But like you said, they really don't want to be there. They want to be someplace else. So like you said, they're going just balls out or whatever and to get what they got to get. And I took you out. Oh, well, sorry, not sorry. So, man, but when that happened that weekend, man, I just remember going to eat that night. I think I was by myself, and I just was like in like a funk. I was like, God damn it, Brad. And I wanted to say something to him, but I couldn't. So I was like, I had to just hold it in. And I just wanted to know, and I always wanted to ask you, what was it like from your end, man? Like that day, did you, like, after the races were over and everybody cleared out, did you talk to him at all? Did you say anything about the race, or did you just like watch him change and go, okay, I guess I'll see you later. But I mean, what did you do?
Yeah, it was a bit. It wasn't necessarily awkward. Like the most awkward thing was we went to the award ceremony and he didn't tell me about the award ceremony beforehand. So like I'm like trying to scrape together some half decent clothes. Like I just rock up in like my training gear and like my Bradley Smith jumper, my Bradley Smith t-shirt, and I'm like, excuse me. Like we are going to, because previously we never bothered going to the award ceremony. So this year we're going and like, I should have bought a tux. Thanks for letting me know, Brad. Appreciate that. Yeah, and also like Will, who's like the videographer, was in the same boat. And I'm like, a tux? I haven't even got smart shoes. So anyway, that was funny. So there was that. And then there was other like dynamics of like, was I going to like continue working with him for the following year as well. So we kind of just made the most of the night and had a good night. Like we celebrated coming second in the championship. That's at the end of the day, that's what he did, and he achieved that. So that was all good. We went for a nice meal, and then the next, we kind of started putting the plans in place for the following year.
Okay, well, like I said, that was the one that's a touchy subject, and I didn't want to step on toes, but I just was curious about that, And I know the effect you have on him because we went out to eat in Austin. I don't think you were with us, or were you? We went to eat in Austin. It was me, Bradley, and a couple other people. The bill came like $500, $400. But I remember Bradley was like, "You're gonna eat that?" Because it was like a piece of bread that they bring to the table, and Brad was like, "You're gonna put that in your body?" And I was like, "Well, I guess not now because you said that shit." And it had to be a direct correlation to you. And honestly, looking back on it now, I'm glad he did that because now, and I like to ease into it and we only have a little bit of time, but I love talking about your transverge to a plant-based diet, and I love how people, they want to call you the vegan athlete. Let's just say plant-based, and it's like. And my thing is, why is it, do you think, people have such a negative attitude? Like, why don't you eat meat? Why don't? And it, like, I don't understand that. It's like vitriol they're coming at you with. And I think it's great. For me personally, I've heard you talk about this on what you did on an ethical reason, which I think is great. For me personally, I just thought that, and a friend said it best. I ran into a vegan bodybuilder, and he goes, "You know what? Animals know when they're going to die. Like a cow, when they go to a slaughterhouse, they know what's going on. A pig knows. So, they're stressed out. They're knowing, okay, this is it. So you're eating that stress. Animals have souls. So you're eating that stress. So that goes into your body. And that's what's going to cause, some, I mean, you can disagree or disagree with it. I mean, I like to hear your point of view on that. But, and when he broke it down like that, I was like, yeah. And I was already going to go vegetarian anyway. So I was wanting to know, like, real briefly, like, what's your take on people's negativity toward when you said you're going to a plant-based diet and just the overall the way society looks at it, and why did you go plant-based?
Okay, so a couple things like that you mentioned there. Just one really interesting one about eating that stress, that negativity of the animal that knows it's going to die. I think that's really important because that sounds a bit like mumbo jumbo, but the more that we learn about like mRNA or microRNA, like that is so true. Like your body's just releasing all these like stress hormones and chemicals and saying that I'm in a stress like state, I'm about to die, I'm like super anxious, and then that does go into the meat, and that is what people are eating, and that's what the latest science kind of says. So science really supports that. Secondly, like my dog is like asleep behind me, and I love my dog, right? But if I hit my dog in the face, or if I took a knife to its throat, he's really going to be very stressed and anxious. My dog is a bit of a rescue dog. He gets quite stressed and anxious as it is, and you treat him bad. Like, they have that emotions, that feelings. And yeah, once upon a time, 4 years ago or so, I suddenly made that connection but my dog isn't like the only animal that feels that way. Like, pigs are more intelligent than dogs, and cows are intelligent. And if you look them in the eye, and like, I suddenly had this feeling of not wanting to. Like, I could, and I have killed animals in the past, right. And I'll openly say that, like chickens, and I've shot rabbits and been fishing and that sort of thing, and I've eaten my life's worth of sushi. But I suddenly just decided, no, I don't want to cause that pain. And if I'm not going to do it myself, and if I'm not going to take the knife myself, then I'm certainly not going to pay somebody else to do it, because I'm a massive believer in aligning our actions with our values. And if it's my value that I don't want to cause those animals harm, then my action to then pay for it is going against what I value. So I don't believe that would lead to a happy, fulfilled life. So if I'm going to be happy and fulfilled, then I've got to align my actions with my values, right? But then the main point that you were talking about is, why is there so much negativity behind people? Okay, and really simply, it's because, in my opinion, it's because just by not eating meat and being ethically perhaps against it, you're automatically challenging what other people believe. Okay, and once you challenge someone's belief system, whether you're right or they're right, and there is no right and wrong. Like, we operate from our own belief systems, and everyone has different belief systems. I'm not necessarily right. I just have my own belief systems. I don't believe there's a right or wrong. Like, it's just you're challenging their belief system, and it's our human instinct and our natural, in a chimp call it, our emotional reaction is to defend what we believe. That's why there's wars over religion. That's why most people, in fact, go to war or even have arguments. At the end of the day, that's why most conflict exists, is because two people have different belief systems or different beliefs, and they're challenging each other, and consequently defending what one another believes.
Okay, so in a way, is it so much belief system or what you've been shoved down what you've been force fed your entire life? Look at the United States. I mean, I don't want to get into politics. Look at the United States. I mean, they've been force fed, this is the greatest country on earth, and you can't talk to those people. I mean, and you see it now. I mean, from your outside looking in, you can see what's going on now. I mean, it's like, I like to step outside the bubble, and they're saying all this, it's the greatest country on earth. I go, really? Well, basically, you've treated a certain group of people in this country. Basically, you've been domestic terrorists to other Americans in this country since the inception of it, and they know it. I mean, the greatest domestic terrorist attack in American soil was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma originally, so I know this. Back in the 20s, that was the largest domestic terrorism, and they won't acknowledge it. And there's money that should be given to the black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma that they did, their own citizens did on other citizens of color. I mean, African Americans had their own, basically, they had their own airports, they had their own businesses and everything. And because of a trumped up charge, they end up destroying. They even bought in military planes. They'll deny it, but they bought in military planes and bombed a certain area. So their belief system, that's their belief system. They did nothing wrong, even though that was domestic terrorism. So they're being fed a certain, like, oh, this is it, and we're never going to deter from this. And they go, that's not so much right, is that you being force fed, so you think that's right, but that's not right. So if somebody says, hey man, how about this? And they go, no, it can't be. This is the way it's always going to be. And that's the way I look at sports in a way. It's like, if you're a football player, well, you got to eat a steak before a meal. Eat a steak and then steak and potatoes, and that's the way it is to be big and strong. And then somebody said, you know what? How about we make tasty tofu and we season it and make it taste great? Or we take a tempeh, make it like a steak. Or we take, you'll get just as many protein from black beans. No, that's a bunch of hogwash. That's hippie talk. I mean, I think that's what it is. I don't think so much they believe it as they've been force-fed it so much that it's just a way of, it's like somebody saying, people get upset here when they go Happy Holidays instead of saying Merry Christmas. They go out of their fucking minds. Happy Holidays. What do you mean no, it's Merry Christmas. I mean, they go fucking ape shit here. And that's what, it amazes me because I step away from it. I really do. I'll never be a USA kind of guy. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
But BT, they're one in the same, dude. Like, what you've been force-fed is what you believe. It ends up being what you believe. Like, on a basic level, the human brain is just the computer, right? You program it, and like all those years of like culturally, environmentally, like your parents, your school, like the people you hang out with, like the things that you see on the TV, the things that you see on social media, they funnel you down that certain way, and that shapes your belief system. That the whole thing shapes your belief system, and then it only takes. And the hardest thing is that by human nature, we actually choose, and this is the whole way that social media works, we choose to look into subjects that reconfirm what we already believe.
Yes.
But it takes a huge amount of emotional intelligence, and only some people have that growth mindset, and some people have that emotional intelligence to challenge what we instinctively believe and be open to the possibility of other beliefs and be open to changing our thoughts and think laterally and the ideas of others and the fact there could be more than one right answer or no right answer, you know? Totally
non sequitur, but that reminded me, and this is totally different. This is the mind of a Gemini. When you said emotional intelligence, do you remember this year when Miguel Oliveira got pissed off at Paul Espargo, and he said, not everybody's born with the same emotional intelligence. You remember he said that? He said that this year. And man, Spargo got so mad and he goes, I can't believe he said that. And then he goes, he didn't even apologize. He got so mad. And I had to throw that in there because he said what you said. He goes, not everybody's born with the same intelligence. And Paul Espargo got so mad. And I'm reading it and I'm laughing. And he said, he never even apologized. So when you said that, it just made me laugh. But it's the truth, man. That's I love that. That's why I loved having you on here, and I love getting the research on you because, and it's not even kissing ass. It's just. It takes a lot for what you did, and I always applaud people who step outside that and go, hey, let me explore this, and let me not, okay, I've been taught this, but let me go over here and check this out for my own and for myself. And it's like, I hear you say that, and that's what made me go, I love the way you think on that. Like, think outside of the box. It's not better or worse, it's just going to be different. I mean, if you can arrive at the same place and, do a different method, big deal. But some people, they get their panties in a bunch.
Yeah, right. It's about working. It's not just working hard at the end of the day. It's about being smart.
And you're a smart man, my friend. And real quick, oh my God, real quick. What was it like? I know you have your plant-based ebook, which is called, help me, what's your plant-based ebook called?
Thrive on a plant-based diet.
Thrive on a plant-based diet. It's all vegan recipes, which I'm gonna get I really am because I'm borderline vegan. I'm vegetarian, borderline vegan. I'm kind of like that guy who I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church. Those kind of people. I kind of walk that line, like backslide or whatever. So I'm gonna get that. But did you work with Lewis Hamilton on that book? Didn't you?
Do you know that? I don't shout about that very often, but it is where it came from. Yeah, so I did his some nutrition stuff for him. I don't know how you even know that. Oh, man,
I do everything, buddy.
I don't tell anyone that. Like, I've done some training with him before.
How is he? How is Lewis? I mean, I want to get him on this show so bad. That is and honestly, it's almost not even from the athletic standpoint. It's just from the standpoint from where he's at. And I mean, he didn't have to do what he did this year. And that was one of the few positive points of COVID is he brought the attention to racism, and he didn't even have to. And he wore the Justice for Breonna Taylor shirt on the podium, and he took a stand against that when he doesn't have to. He's one of the biggest athletes in the world, and what he did, and that's what made me just love him even that much more. But what was he like to train with, and what's he like behind behind closed doors, or behind when the camera's not on?
Yeah, look, I met him a handful of times. I think he comes across as a great guy. I don't understand why in the media he gets, or a lot of people give him a lot of stick. I really don't understand that. I think he's a really great guy. He turned out real professional, trained really hard when I worked with him, and was always like keen to learn, and even bumped into him outside the gym, like just always like been very open to talk, which is, I think, is a really, really great thing. And also just, I love the way that he's trying to, like, always using his platform for good and, and trying to get better and better. Like, he got so much, he still today gets, in the UK, people give him so much shit about having that plane and it being registered on the Isle of Man, where like everyone in the UK who has a private plane has it registered in the Isle of Man to save tax. So go and pick on someone else, or pick on everyone if you're going to pick on one person. And then within like a year or two, he sold it. And this year, he was the only F1 guy to actually live in his motorhome, travel from race to race, like by car or in his motorhome, and stay in the motorhome on like trackside. Like, everyone else was staying in hotels and like flying backwards and forwards from airports and like doubling up or tripling up on their carbon footprint. And like Lewis was like in the motorhome like the whole season, didn't even stay in a hotel. So you've got to have a respect for that, because he is, again, he's aligning his actions with his values. He's preaching a lot about the environment, a lot about like racism and stuff. But it's stuff that he believes in strongly, and he's not just saying it because he thinks he should or he can. He's trying to act that way as well. And I would imagine, I don't know, like I said, I've met him a handful of times. I don't know him very well, and I've talked to Angela a little bit more, his performance coach. But I would imagine that half the reason why he hasn't signed a contract for next year is because you're thinking like, oh look, like it's amazing and this is what he loves and it's his biggest passion. But there's a conflict of values there, because it has, is motorsport probably the best thing for the environment? Definitely not. It's like there's, so it's probably a conflict of values there. And does he need to be doing it? Arguably, maybe not anymore. But does he want to go and push for that 8th World Championship? Yeah, of course he does. So I think that's probably a big decision and big thing for him in the coming days or weeks.
Man, I just think that's beautiful. And honestly, when I saw you work with him and just your stance, I think you had a post on your Instagram, which is at Coach Matt Dickens. If you guys follow him on Instagram, it's great. He's got workouts in there, and he's even lifting his baby up. So if you have a kid and you can't get to the gym, just take your kid and lift him up, and both of you get a workout. They probably puke on you or shit on you, but still, you get a good workout that way. So follow him on Instagram at Coach Matt Dickens. I promise you will not be disappointed. Go to his website, which is atlasperformance.co.uk.
Yeah, that's the Atlas Health Performance.
Yeah, Atlas Health Performance. Honestly, go to that. It's incredible what he does, and who you are as a person is even better. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the cold therapy. I do the same thing too. I've been taking cold showers since March. I've been doing that since March, and I wanted you real quick to tell me how my diet is. Here's what I do. I wake up in the morning. Here's my diet. I'm gonna tell you. I always start off with a smoothie, okay? And because of you, I was doing my research on you, and I swear to God, Sunday night I'm trying to listen to a podcast, trying to think of what to ask you. And you guys start talking about your vegan lifestyle, and I got so hungry listening to you talk, I literally paused your podcast. I literally paused the podcast you were on and went and got me a vegan burrito from Chipotle. I literally did that. I stopped and I went and got a burrito Sunday night at about 7:30. I went and got a burrito, all because of you. I go, all this talk about food is making me hungry. So I went and got one and got with sopa fritas and black beans, and I made it a vegan burrito, and I went and ate it, and I thought about you. So here's when I start off with a smoothie, and I squeeze lemons or limes in it. Today was oranges, and then I put coconut water, and then I put a teaspoon of turmeric. I cut fresh ginger in it. I put ginger sprinkle in it, and usually it's frozen bananas, strawberries, and pineapple, and then I put Irish sea moss in it, a couple of teaspoons of Irish sea moss in it, also with some collagen, and then I top it off with some agave, and then put maybe some raspberries and blueberries in it, and build it. And so how's that for a start for the morning? Is that pretty good?
Sounds really nutrient dense, man. Sounds good.
I'm just
the only thing I say is it sounds like the only thing I say is when people obviously ask me, like I can't lose weight or I'm like whatever, I think liquid calories. So smoothies are great. They're a great way to get loads of nutrients in one go. I love the ginger and turmeric, like all anti-inflammatory as well. But like so many people eat smoothies and think that they're being like really healthy, but just because they're healthy, they're probably like loads of calories in there. So for people who are trying to lose weight, for example, I always say, oh yeah, just cut out the liquid calories, yogurt, smoothies, alcohol, fizzy drinks, whatever it is, take that out because you probably got like 500 calories in a glass.
But I work it out because I work out so hard. I mean, we got to work out together one day. We've got to do a MMA workout together. I did one yesterday I do a Muay Thai gym. So we got to do an MMA workout, man. The next time when all this bullshit's over, me and you get in the gym together. I really can't run anymore because of the hips, but we'll get in the gym together. We'll do an MMA workout. We'll maybe do some strike or maybe some ground game or whatever. And I'll see what you got. You see what I got. We'll meet in the middle.
You should have said that before, BT, because I always had the pads. Always had gloves and pads at every track.
Well, I didn't want to make you look bad. I mean, you know what I mean? You getting paid. I didn't want, like, oh man, that black dude's beating him up. I don't want, and then I get arrested and I won't get out of jail because I'm in Spain. I don't know how to say bail in Spain.
I used to spar with Paul Espargalo's manager, Homer, Amer, like quite a lot until I clocked him on the nose and then he never wanted to do it. And it was pure accident as well. It was just, he was holding the pad, and out of nowhere I just gone bang, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry."
Well, you know what? Maybe we won't spar. We'll just we'll get a nice track walk. How about that? We'll get a nice track walk. And how about that?
Yeah, that would be good.
Man, dude, I got another show to do. My God, man, we're gonna do a part 2. I want to talk to you about being a dad, which is I'm so happy for you. We'll get to that. This hour is not enough, and I want to get more into you. Like I said, when just studying on you, I just love everything you're about, the positivity and everything. So we'll definitely do a part 2, and hopefully your neighbor won't be doing construction, and maybe the baby will be older, but whatever, and we'll do that. We'll definitely do a part 2. Thank you so much for your time. Like I said, I know you got a kid and time is crucial to you. So thank you so much for this. I mean that. Go to his website. Follow him on Instagram at Coach Matt Dickens. I promise you'll have a workout for you. Even if you don't have any weights, this guy is incredible. He will teach you to become a better person, a better athlete, and just have a better body and overall look of life because his positivity exudes once you talk to this guy. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching from Tales from the Gym, and I appreciate everybody. And like I said about this time, peace.